Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Crazy Lightbulb, and we are back at part 4 of character creation for Dungeons & Dragons for beginners. That's right, it's going to be awesome. Alright, so we just got done as we look back at our character sheet here. We look back, and we are Darvin Greycastle. We are a fighter human. Oh, not a sage. We are a sailor, as I do recall. Phew. And we are chaotic neutral. We travel the high seas. We picked our flaws, our personality traits, what we are. We have adjusted our stats. So we have a good amount of strength. We have a good amount of dexterity. We also have a good amount of constitution, intelligence. Well, not that great, but we're very charismatic. So at this point, let's start plugging our stuff in. So we're gonna go back to here at the Player's Handbook, and we're gonna go to Sailor. So in the beginning of Sailor, you get a lot. You get. Oh my God! Excuse me. We get a lot of different things. Now, the first thing. This is the reason why I always fill out the background first, because you get what is skilled proficiencies automatically. You get athletics and perception. So we're going to go ahead, and this is why I like this character sheet so much. By the way, since you're level 2, your proficiency bonus is going to be +2. We'll go over that later. Every time you level up, your proficiency goes up with you. So now, we're going to be picking perception, and we're going to be picking athletics. So as you can see, our perception and our athletics went way up, which is always a great thing. So, that's awesome. Now, tool proficiencies, we have navigator tools and we have vehicles of water. So I'm going to see if I can copy this. Most likely I can't copy that, so we're going to go to here. We're going to go under tools. Let me just abbreviate this. Alrighty, and we're going to go to tools, and we're going to go navigator tools, along with vehicle, vehicle, which I don't know how to spell because I'm so bad, vehicles, which is water based. Alright, so that's basically our tools and everything. We're gonna get a whole bunch of crazy stuff. We're going to get all this equipment that comes with it. So I'm going to try to copy all this. So this is basically what we're going to get, and we're going to copy it down. So we're going to get a belaying club, or a belaying pin, which is a club, 50 feet of silk rope, a lucky charm, such as a rabbit foot or a small stone or something like that. So we'll go rabbit foot. So we're going to go with club, 50, silk rope, a rabbit's foot. So let's go ahead and type that down. So let's see if I can remember. We got silk rope, we have a club, we also have a rabbit's foot. Alrighty, so that's what I remember. At this point, oh, or you can go for a random trinket. Trinkets are actually fun because when you go to the equipment, you actually roll for it randomly. But rabbit's foot's pretty cool. Alright, you get a set of common clothes. And now you also get a bag, or a pouch, which contains 10 gold pieces. Alright. So that's perfect. So we're basically done with our background already. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way back to where we first started. We're going to go back to our human. So humans are actually very easy to pick. Oop, oh shit, I went too far. Here we go. Alright, so now that we're picking our human, we're going to read off these things. So, ability scores, each one increases by 1. Well, that's pretty nice. So we're going to go to our ability scores. We're going to go, that's a 16, that's a 16, that's a 9, that's a 9, that's a 9, that's a 16. So we just increased all of our stats up by 1. And since it went from a 14 to 15 to a 16 to 17, now it's plus 3 rather than a plus 2. So if you see here, we have all of our skills written down. And now our skills are slowly going up, which is a good thing. So at this point, now we get to say, we already picked our size. We have a speed of 30 feet. So we're going to go over here and we're going to put 30 feet. Well, at this point, we already know how to read, speak, and write common, but we get an extra language. So where do we go? We go all the way back, I believe, to right here. Ooh, almost. Let me see. Nope, not that far. Okay, we gotta go a little bit far. There we go. So, now, what do we know? Do we know how to speak Draconic? Do we know how to speak Orc, Halfling, Goblin, Gnomish, Giant? What do we know how to speak? Well, to be honest, if I'm in the high seas, and I know how to sail, and I'm a trader of some sort, I would most likely do business with a lot of dwarves. Because dwarves know where the money's at. So Dwarvish is probably going to be my best bet. So we're going to go and write right here. I believe I'm spelling that right. Nope. I forgot. W. I believe that's how you spell it. Yes. Nope. Wrong. Damn, I suck at spelling. Gotta go back to school. Doesn't matter because it's not picking up on the screen. Alright. So, as we go back to our human. Oop, let me go back down to here. Wait a second. We're done! We don't have to do variant human traits because that's the alternate thing that we can pick. But now it's going to be the tough part, which is going to be the class. Now the class is usually easy for level 1 on fighters. Now here is your grid. This is your leveling up grid. Every level it tells you as a brief description what you're going to get. As you see here, you have your proficiency scores. You get plus 2 up to level 4. You get plus 3 up to level 8, and then so on and so on. It basically kind of levels out in increments of 4. Then it tells you automatically what you have for your features. Now let's go ahead and we're going to go down to, it tells you a little bit about quick build and everything. It tells you about how to roll for hit points. But what I like to do is I like to roll for basic stuff. So for our starting hit points, we automatically get 10 plus our constitution modifier. Well, we have a -1 in our constitution modifier, so we're really not doing that great there. So we start off with 9 hit points at level 1. Not too bad. So, what are we proficient in? We're proficient in all armor, shields, martial weapons, simple weapons. We're proficient in everything. So let's go ahead and write that down. All armor, weapons, and shields. So we are proficient in all that. That's why the fighter is the best thing to start off with. And automatically, we have our saving throws. Now these are the saving throws that we start out with. You can get more later on, but it's going to require a feat, which I will go over later in the game. Or later, not in the game, but later in this dialogue. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick Constitution and Strength. So automatically our Strength saving throw, off the charts. And our Constitution, But it's a basic first starting character. As your excuse me, as your character goes up, you have different times to change and to change things up a little bit. Whether it's to boost your character's stats, or whether it's to choose a feat that helps him in battle, or to help him in your journey. It's just so many different things you can do. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is, how do you get initiative? Well, your initiative is your dexterity score. So we're going to go +3 here. So this is going to be a 3 on your initiative. Your dexterity modifier is always going to be your initiative. So go ahead and plug that in there now, so you know. Because that's technically in the beginning of the book. So now, we get to choose 2 skills of this choice, and to add it to our already awesome skills. So, acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. Everything's pretty self-explanatory. The only thing that's different that needs a little bit of elaboration is acrobatics and athletics. Athletics has to deal with you being an athlete, which is lifting, running, jumping. Basically, in that aspect. Acrobatics is like when you're going to the carnival, or not the carnival, the circus, and you see all those acrobats being super balanced and doing all these nifty flips and tricks and everything. That's kind of an acrobat. It's mostly about balance. Since we already have athletics, we don't have to worry about that. And since we already have perception, we don't have to worry about that either. So, we get to choose two other things that we can pick at. So let's see. Insight relies on how you read people. So insight is, as a pirate or as a sailor, you gotta have kind of good insight to handle people when you're going from port to port. So at this point, I'm gonna pick a little insight. Even though that we have a -1 in it, at least we have something in it. Now, we have intimidation. Well, I'm not really making that character intimidating. I don't want him to really intimidate his way to victory. Survival. Survival is great, but I live in the open seas. But balance is good on a ship, so I'm going to go with acrobatics. So acrobatics is great for what we're doing. So those are our skills. So we're going back here, and that's the skills that we picked. Now every time we pick a skill, as you see, it's going to automatically add your proficiency. Otherwise, you're going to be sticking with your basic ability scores, which are the 3s and the -1s. As you can see here in the skills, it's automatically calculated for us on this. But as you can see, since I have a charisma skill of 3, all my charisma based, such as deception, intimidation, performance, persuasion, is already +3. But since I'm trained in certain dexterity things, such as acrobatics, since I have that skill proficient in, I get to add both of these numbers together, which gives me the +5. Now, we get to pick our starting equipment. Now, what type of person am I going to be? Am I going to be in chainmail? Am I going to be in leather? What am I going to be? Well, since I have a very, very high dexterity, I could go with leather. And it's very easy, very maneuverable. I kind of like leather. So, let's go ahead and we're going to go with leather and a longbow with 20 with 20 arrows. So we're going to go ahead, go with leather. Actually, we can type that right here. Leather. And we're going to go with a quiver of 20 arrows. And we're going to go ahead and type in longbow. Main reason why I type in longbow here is because this is basically a cheat sheet of when you make certain attacks. Anyways, let's go back. Now we get to pick a martial weapon, a shield, or we get to pick 2 material weapons. Well, I do like the shield, but the thing is we're a sailor. Kind of like having 2 weapons. Well, let's check out to see what we got in the next one. We get to pick a light crossbow or 2 hand axes. Well, 2 hand axes seem pretty badass. We're going to pick hand axes. We're going to go with, and since we have 2 of them, we're going to type in 2 hand axes. So we know that we have it. Then we have a Dungeoneer's pack or an Explorer's pack. Well, let's go ahead and let's go to the equipment and check that out. So we're going to go with equipment. We're going to go ahead and automatically start. We're going to go to the weapons table. Now the weapons table is set up with simple, melee, simple ranged, martial melee weapons, and martial ranged weapons. So right now, we can pick any martial weapons that we want. So what do I think we should pick? Well, we already have 2 hand axes. Gosh, how much more beefed out can we get? Well, we already have 2 hand axes. You can obviously pick 2 hand crossbows. I don't know, but there's so much to do. It's crazy. How about we get a little versatility in this? We'll get a hand crossbow and we'll get a longsword. Alright, so now that we picked out our weapons, let's go ahead and let's go back to our good old-fashioned adventure gear. Now, adventure gear table, you get all this awesome stuff in the adventure gear table that you can use and buy money with the remaining money that you have. So since we have 10 gold extra, we can buy a little bit extra. But right now, we're going to be checking out the equipment packs. Now, as we remember, when we're starting our character, we get to pick the Dungeoneering pack or the Explorers pack. Well, first of all, I'm not really a Dungeoneer. I sail the 7 seas. So, I think Explorer pack would be kind of good, and it's actually one of the best packs you can get starting on. So, Explorers pack includes a backpack, a bedroll, a mess kit, a tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 days of rations, a water skin, and 50 feet of hemp rope to the side of it. So this is awesome. So this is probably the best thing we're going to write down. So we're going to put down an Explorers pack. Now if you don't know what's in an Explorers pack, go ahead and write everything down. But usually your Dungeon Master will help you out with that. I believe that's how you spelled it, right? Yeah. So that's pretty much it. When it comes down to equipment, we're pretty much done at this point. Now, just to let you know, there is a variation that you can do that's different. If you don't want to go with any of the starting equipment, which, by the way, is way more beneficial and you get way more money in the long run, you get your money's worth using the starting equipment. But if you wanted to, you can roll these stats. Since we're a fighter, we could have rolled 5d4 and multiplied that by 10, and that's how much starting gold we would have had. But since we're not that, we're going to stick with the gear that we have. Pretty much, we're souped out at this point. Now, the last thing we're going to be doing is, since we're level 1, we're going to be we already calculated our hit points and everything. Now, after that, we get to go ahead and pick our fighting style. At level 1, we get a fighting style and we get an ability called Second Wind. So, we get a +2, we can get archery, which we do have a lot of archery stuffed. So we get a +2 to attack rolls. We are wearing armor, but, you know, that's not really our thing. Dueling, we could use a one-handed weapon and it gives us +2 to damage rolls. Well, I don't know. Protection is really good, but we don't have a shield. In grape weapon fighting, we don't have a two-handed weapon. We do have the longsword that can be used as two-handed, but I don't think we're going to be using it for that reason. Two-weapon fighting basically allows you to add your ability score to the second attack that you use. Now, makes you think, what can I use? Well, dueling's pretty awesome, and archery's pretty good too. But I think two-weapon fighting is going to be our choice of this. So right now, we're going to be typing here, fighting style, and we're going to be typing two-weapon fighting. Now, this will allow us to use two weapons in a hand and attack with one of each. So if we wanted to use one of our hand axes and our longsword in one hand, we could do that. So, at this point, it allows us to add our damage and everything. And then we get an ability called Second Wind. Second Wind allows us, once per short rest, as a bonus action, which I'll explain in another video, we can roll a 1d10 plus our fighter level to heal that many hit points. That's pretty beefy. I like it. So, that is what we're going to be typing down here. So we're going to be typing down here, second wind. And then regain 1d10 plus 1 hit points as a bonus action, only used once per short rest. Now, I'll go over the whole point of short rests and role-playing later on, but that's what we have. And your hit dice are automatically what your character's hit die is. So remember how we had to do 1d10 or a 10 plus our minus 1 to get our current hit points? Well, we have a 1d10. So we're going to put 1d10 as hit point, as our hit dice, and that's going to be it. Now our armor class, this segment is going to be a little longer, so I do apologize. But if you pretty much know everything from this point on, you really don't have to stay. But I'm just going to be going over and filling the last bit of information in. So we have leather armor, which is 11 plus our dex modifier. So at this point, our armor class is going to be 11 plus 3. So we're going to have a 14 armor class, which is going to help us on defending against attacks. Next, we're going to go with the weapons table. Now, we have hand axes, which hand axes deal 1d6 slashing damage and can be thrown or can be used as a melee. So, we just go, and since our strength and our dexterity is the same thing, we don't really have to worry about that. So we're going to be going plus 5, because when you make an attack, if you're proficient in it, you get to add your proficiency to the rolls along with your ability score. So, and since that's 1d6 slashing damage, we're going to write that down as our little cheat sheet. Now, a longbow. A longbow is, if we go down here to range, it's 1d8 piercing and has a range of 150 to 600 feet. It's two-handed though, so we need to remember that. So this is also going to be plus 5. And at this point, it's going to be 1d8. Ooh, that was not right. 1d8 piercing. And I don't think I spelled piercing right. Gosh, I suck at this. Alright, now, our last bit is our longsword, which is going to be plus 5 as well. And at this point, our longsword, which is going to be right here, is 1d8 slashing, but it's versatile, so we can use it as a two-handed weapon to make it a d10. So let's go ahead and put that stat down instead. So we're going to go 1d10 slashing, and we're going to put in parentheses two-handed. So there we go. That is basically the start of your character. Later on, you'll be able to use the rest of the character to actually draw, write down your allies, pick a great backstory for yourself, and figure out where you're coming from. If you don't know, talk to your dungeon master and see what they can do to help you. But we have just created a level 1 character from scratch. Thank you guys so much, and I know this last part was so long, but thank you again. This is Crazy Lightbulb, part 4 of how to create a D&D character for beginners. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys later.